Hey guys, and welcome to another tutorial in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Airbus A320neo. And today we are looking at the custom fly-by-wire controls that the fly-by-wire team have been building for the A320. So as you can see here, I'm actually just getting used to using the rudder to steer again, as everything has very slightly changed with this new fly-by-wire system. So I want to say it again just because it's a little bit confusing at first. So fly-by-wire have created their custom fly-by-wire build to hopefully enable the controls of the aircraft to be much more realistic in the way the real A320 responds compared to the default settings of Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's available now to download, but they do state very clearly that it is still in the very early stages of development, so there are some things which don't work completely yet, and there's a full list on there which I'll pop a link to the website. You can go and download that at your in your own time and have a look at what they say they know is not working just yet. One of the things I will bring to your attention is, we're so very sensitive, and you may be wondering why, and I'll show you why. What they do say is that if you are going to use this custom fly-by-wire system, then your controls need to have a more linear approach to them. So what I mean by that is, if we just go into my sensitivities here, you can see that aside from a very small dead zone, which again they say you only need about 5%, I think, it wants to be a straight, almost horizontal axis, or like this Z-axis, which I don't actually use on my side stick, but it wants to not be tapering off at one end or the other. And you'll know that the sensitivities are a little bit overdone in Flight Sim 2020, so a lot of people have been bringing them back. Well, Fly-by-Wire are saying that for their new system, then you can just go back to being more linear in its approach. So once we get in the air, we'll see just how that functions. But certainly down here on the ground, I am just getting to grips a little bit with the taxiing. So let's just get ready for takeoff. Flaps 1, spoilers. We obviously don't have any cabin today. We can turn the APU off and pop the auto brakes on max. We'll do a couple of tests as well of the fly-by-wire protections as well, so like the bank angle and pitch attitude, etc, etc. Also have a look, see if high speed protection or anything like that is working at the moment. Low speed protection, we would imagine that to be working, because we know from past experience things like alpha floor work already. So TO config normal. I will pop our lights on just to do things properly. So yes, it is very sensitive to the touch, but I'm presuming that's clearly because obviously we've reduced, or I've reduced my sensitivities that I'm used to using. Engine mode selector can go back to normal, cockpit door locked, and of course we'll just put our landing lights on for takeoff, strobe lights as well, and nose lights. Okay. So all we're going to do is we're going to take off. For anyone wondering, we're at Doncaster, Sheffield, Robin Hood Airport today. One of my local airports. I don't even know if I got the name right, it's that long. But we're going to take off. We'll take the aircraft up to about 10,000 feet, perform some tests, as I say, the fly-by-wire protection tests that are found on the aircraft, and then we'll just come back in. I'll be very interested to see what the landing is like, things like the flare mode, the ground effect and stuff like that. So I haven't got Flight Director turned on just because we will not be flying it or following that at the moment. What I will do is I will select headed mode. There we go. Alright, so let's take her up, toggle thrust to start with, and let's see how we do with keeping the aircraft on the centre line. So I'm just looking now down here that I'm already having to twist, you can see, slightly to the left. Not sure what the winds are doing. Bring that back up to neutral. So that's a little bit wavy, isn't it? And again, I'm presuming this is purely down to the fact that I've got purely down to the fact that we've reduced the sensitivity of it, or rather it's gone back to normal. You'll have noticed, of course, we've got no performance calculations or anything like that. I've not gone through that for this demonstration. So take the gear up. What I will also be interested to see is how well the aircraft holds the pitch and the bank angle when I let go of the side stick. So flaps can come up as well, ground spoilers can be disarmed. Okay, so we're just flying out at the moment on runway heading, and we can now select lever climb, which is flashing rather fast at the moment. Oh, it's a bit sporadic, but we know what it wants us to do. So we can go into lever climb mode. Just check that's been set down here. There it has. Okay, so that should first of all start to spool down as we hit 250 knots. Yes, it does. So that's good. I'm going to let the aircraft continue to climb up to 10,000 feet, and what I'm going to do is turn the autopilot on and see how that manages it. Let's pop the flight directors on as well. Bit of anti-ice needed today, so I'll pop that on as well. Not really loaded any passengers or anything like that, but I'm just watching that climb rate there. Seems to be going rather excessive again. You saw it turn amber, so manage mode for the climb still needs a little bit refining. What are we climbing at there? 5,000 feet per minute. 4,000 feet per minute is acceptable if we're quite light, but I don't think any of your passengers would be tipping you on the way out if you took off like a rocket. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the autopilot off there. So there's the autopilot off, and I'm going to start just by turning the aircraft over to the left and seeing how that holds. So if I let go of the side stick now, yeah, that does exactly as we would expect. So no inputs from me at the moment on the side stick, and we're just banking over to the left, which is where I left it. Now if I'm coming up to 10,000 feet, let me lower the nose slightly, and I want to try and taper off our climb. Let's see if we can start to just get that and see how that holds the attitude. So I've now released the side stick. I'm still in that turn, which is fine, absolutely great. And it's actually holding the attitude of the aircraft very, very well, as you can see. Okay, so let me start to level up. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to check is our bank angle. We shouldn't be able to bank over 33 degrees. That's in autopilot. If I'm flying manually and I deflect the side stick full left or full right, we should be able to go up to 67 degrees, but no more. So let me try this out. So we're watching here to see how far it will allow us to go. So I'm now fully over. It shouldn't let me go any further than that, and it's not doing. You can see that I'm pulling all the way over to the right. Now the moment I let go of the side stick, what the aircraft should do is return to a normal 33 degree bank, which it is doing. So that's great. Okay, I'm just going to raise the nose slightly as we can see the red speed tape coming down. So we're approaching VMO at the moment. MMO, the maximum operating speed of the aircraft. Interestingly enough, if we do approach the VMO, then high speed protection should kick in. So if I pop the nose down as such, we start to gain speed. What we should normally get is a little green equal sign telling us, at which point, if autopilot was on, it should disconnect. There's our overspeed warning. Does the aircraft try to recover itself? No, not yet. Okay, so let's do that before we rip the wings off the aircraft and the simulator crashes. Okay, so normal aircraft does have high-speed protection built in, and we'll start to raise the nose. Alright, so that's not there yet, but never mind. But the bang angle works very, very well. That's good. Now the next thing, let me check, is I just want to make sure actually I stay in sight of the airfield that I want to land back at in a moment. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to check is the pitch attitude. So we shouldn't be able to go above 30 degrees full up. So let's check this. So there's 20 degrees, 25, 30. I'm all the way back. And as you can see, all the way back, and it will not let me go any higher than 30. So that's good, that's working. Let's pop the nose back down before we enter a stall. And I'm just going to bring the aircraft over to the right, just so we can stay focused on the airfield we want to land at shortly, back at Doncaster. It was just starting to snow actually as I was taxiing out, as it was here in real life, and I'm only about 10-15 miles away, so that's quite nice that Flight Sim's weather seems to be working accurately. That is default weather as well, not using Rex or anything like that. Okay, so pitch attitude works for up with the protection there, and now I'm going to see if we can push the nose down. We shouldn't be able to go lower than 15 degrees, so let's see how this works. So if I push down, that's 10 degrees, that's 15 degrees, and that's holding quite nicely. I can't push down any further, as you can see, than 15 degrees. I do not believe the default aircraft did that. I may be wrong, but I don't think that protection was built in. Alright, let me pull the stick back, because we know that the high-speed protection is not yet working and not yet built in, and I don't want to stall the aircraft. Okay, so one of the other things that I'm finding is, as I'm flying this custom fly-by-wire design, is it's actually really nice to fly. I will have to get used to the rudder sensitivity settings for taxiing, but it is really nice to fly. And again, you'll have noticed that we've not actually, apart from the auto thrust, we've not had autopilot on for a while now, and the aircraft is very, very stable. It's not doing anything I've not expected it to do. So that's good. Of course, the next test will be the landing and the flare. So let's now just start to descend a little bit. You can see what we're basically going to do is I'm just going to come around here and land back on the runway that we took off from. We've still got a random top of descent arrow floating across on the system, but that's still to be worked on. So if I turn the landing system on, what are we? 18 miles away. So that's fine. What I do like about this is it does feel very natural, the way I'm turning left and right, and I know that sounds very simple, but you do notice a difference from the default flight simulator fly-by-wire controls. This custom fly-by-wire is working very, very nicely. But landing will be fun. For this tutorial I did start cold and dark. I did not start on the runway. I don't expect that would make any difference to it, but just so as you are aware. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the autopilot do its thing and take me down to 3,000 feet. And I'm just going to zoom out a bit here. Pop the autopilot on and let that start to bring us down. Now, if you download this custom fly-by-wire version, you are essentially downloading the latest developer version, the dev version, as it is in its current state. The only difference is the fly-by-wire custom controls that they have built into this. That is the only difference that is made. So there's nothing else different in this to the current dev version, just the fly-by-wire controls. What I didn't do is check to see how the aircraft functioned with the sensitivities that I had previously set. What I am concerned about now is, why are we climbing? That shouldn't be happening. I'm going to lower our speed, and we appear to be climbing up. If I pop that again, will that force the aircraft down? It seems to be. We didn't get an announcement here on the FMA, so something went a little bit astray there, but it seems now to be behaving itself. Of course, I'm in managed mode, asking it to descend, and we know we've got issues with that anyway. So if I pull that and drop this down to say, let's start to get down, please, and see how it does there. At the moment, that's in open descent. Pull that for VS. There we go. That's working nicely. And I'll just deploy some spoilers as we start to slow the aircraft down. It's telling me to enter destination data. I'm not going to bother with that at the moment. So, just for the tutorial, not flying the aircraft and programming the guidance computer as we would. I literally want to concentrate on how the controls feel. So, left to right, up and down, the protections that are built in. But the bank angle protection works. The pitch attitude protection works. That's really nice. The high speed protection does not work, not yet. So I suspect that will be coming along in the future. Okay, so all we're going to do is we'll make a we're on the downwind now. We'll make a right hand base and then fly the ILS. What I will do is use autopilot to capture the localizer and glide slope, and then as normal at around 1,000 feet we shall disconnect the autopilot and see what the landing's like. So let's just bring us in a little bit closer to speed up this this landing. We get a lot more notifications as well on the ECAM now, as you can see. So speed brake, which is currently out, that's fine. TCAS is still on standby, I didn't turn it on. Engine anti-ice is on, wing anti-ice is on, also tells me that icing is not detected, and our landing lights are still on. But it's nice to see. So far, I think, given the way this aircraft is currently flying, we may try doing a few streams and full flights with this. That, of course, will all depend on the next 5 minutes when I see what this landing is like. So continue to descend now down to 3,000 feet. We'll just watch the glide slope. As soon as that starts to become alive, we'll make a left-hand bank. Sorry, no we won't. We'll make a right-hand bank, and then come to bring that back in on runway 20 at Doncaster, Sheffield, Robin Hood Airport. Let me know in the comments if you can come up with an airport that has got a much longer name than that. I'm sure there must be. Okay, so we're descending back into the clouds now, at which point I'm sure ice will be detected or something. There we go, look, that anti-ice, no ice detected message has disappeared. Altitude is flashing as we approach 3,000 feet, that is good. Tell you what we might do, instead of letting the autopilot capture the localizer and the glide slope, let's try and fly a full one manually. You would never normally do this. It may also go on the visibility as well, to be fair. I may pop the autopilot back in for that. But it would be nice to see just how that handles. Okay, so there's the glide slope coming up as we're descending to 3,000 feet. With that, I'm going to activate the approach phase, confirm. We can now put that into manage mode, and we'll start to reduce speed towards the green dot speed. Spoilers are now back up. Okay, let's make this right hand turn and see how we get on bringing her in with this custom fly-by-wire. I love that, when you just get glimpses of a little rainbow as well. Just shows you how far simulation and the graphics have come. Wonderful. So, flaps 1. So I'm now going to turn the autopilot off and we're going to fly this manually. So flaps 2. So I want to set a descent rate for normal 3-degree ILS of about 700 feet per minute. I'm just trying to get that settled there to keep us on that glide slope, even though technically we've not intercepted the localizer yet, but just because we're doing quite a close final approach. So all of this is currently being flown manually, and it's holding us quite nice. So I'll just start to now bring us over to intercept the glide slope. Sorry, the localizer. You can see the extended runway centerline here on the navigation display. And it does feel very safe, very solid. At the moment I've hardly got any input at all, as the fly-by-wire systems holds your inputs as it should. Okay, so I can see the runway just ahead of me. It's just over here. We're now back descending with the glide slope. We'll start to capture the localizer. There it is. And I may just configure slightly earlier than usual as I'm flying this manually. So we're just past 7 miles, landing gear down, and go flaps 3. Ground spoilers are armed. It's a huge runway at Finningley, or Doncaster, as Robin Hood, Sheffield Airport, whatever it's called now, so we don't need auto brakes. And we've got a good visual on the runway, on the field now, so not looking too much at the instruments. Obviously keep scanning them, but I'm finding that it is flying very, very well. Flaps full. Of course, what I didn't do before doing the tutorial is check the weather. You'll see we've actually got a tailwind for this landing, so that's something to be aware of. So once again, I'm hardly making an input now. In fact, I'm not making an input. I'm just letting the aircraft hold what the last input that I made, and it is doing. And there we go. I've actually let go now. I may just need to bring back ever so slightly, just to slow the rate of descent a little bit, as we're just going to drop beneath that glide slope. But very, very little inputs from me. And even though I said the rudder felt overly sensitive on the ground, these flight controls don't, which is surprising. So let's see what the flare is like when we get down there. I know it's a bone of content for many of us. So certainly happy to continue.
100. 50. 40.
And start to ease back, and I'm holding it there.
10.
Okay, so down perhaps a little harder than I would have liked, and you can see I'm waving left and right on the ground, and that to me is just slightly oversensitive with the rudder. So I may go in and change those settings, because even on the taxi out it was rather oversensitive to me. So what I would suggest, if you are going to download it, is if we go back to the controls here, I would look, even though they suggest linear controls, I personally am going to fly this again off after finishing this recording, and just start to reduce the sensitivity a little bit, like so. In fact, let's just try it. So if I do that, hit done, apply and save, go back and resume. Now that actually feels, hang on, let me have a proper play. Yeah, so I'm having to use full deflection now to draw S shapes along the runway, which for me feels a lot more secure in what I'm doing. It's not oversensitive. But there we are. Yeah, check the link in the video description and go and have a play. I think you'll be really happy with the way that works. I certainly am, with the exception of that rudder, which I've just been in and changed. So a few more flights to test that, but other than that, great job again. Fly-by-wire, the custom fly-by-wire build that they're working on really does look as though it's going to be in use for the future. Unfortunately, they can't get rid of the icing effects that we are all used to. Okay, if you enjoyed that, please do hit the subscribe button to be notified of live upcoming streams and, of course, new content. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you all soon. Let me know in the comments how you get on with this new custom fly-by-wire build. Goodbye for now.